In Ionic, we are going to do user interface components. Continuation from the previous class. We are going to continue on how to add modals, how to add popover, progress indicator, radio buttons, and so on. We will see a lot of user interface elements today. So to start with, I'm going to start the Ionic from the previous folder using the command ionic serve. So once I have done it, it will take some few minutes to start. And this is the version I have right now. I have the regions, I have the tours, I have the setting, allow messages, and if I click on them, you'll get the details. This is what we have done in the previous lecture. So let's continue on from where we have stopped in the previous lecture. So now we are going to do what is called as modals. Right? In order to do the coding, we will have two Notepad++ files. One of them will be our file which you are going to work on, which is in the same folder from where we have issued the Ionic serve. And the second one comes from the book. So what do you mean by a modal? Modal is something that actually appears on the top of your app. And then before you continue working with the app, you should dismiss this modal. Okay. So to do this, we are going to work on certain files. Let's start with a file named details. Let's go to details page. It is under src app pages details. We are going to work on details.module.ts. Okay, we are going to work on this file. Plus, we would need some other files. Let me get all the necessary files here. We also need details.page.ts. We also need request.page.html. So I'm going to get up all these files. I'm just going to collect them here. And we also need request.data.ts. So these are the files which we are going to work on and see the changes in our Ionic serve. Similarly, in the other Notepad++, we are going to open from the book. This is the code from the 6th chapter of the book. Modal is step number 17. So I'm going to go to 17. I'm going to open the same set of files. So I'm going to go to pages, details. I'm in need of details.module.ts. So let me open that file first. Then I also need details.page.ts. Right, I open that one as well. Then I will go into the request page. Just go to request, pages, request.page.html, and then request.page.ts. So let's continue on these lines and keep working on them. First one, what are we going to do right now in the details.module.ts file? This is a module page. Okay, it's a TypeScript which is a module 1. Here we are going to introduce or import the request one. So this is import request page, which is this line here. So the request is brought inside the modules. So what happens is now once the request is inside here, we need to add it in the declarations also as one of the entry components here. Okay, so let's do this now. So I'm going to add them into the modules here. So I've just done it right now. So we have done this. I'm just saving the file, Control S. Let's go to the command prompt to see what happens. It says there is an error here. Okay, the component request page is declared more than one ng module. So it is declared twice. So it says the request page is declared in the request.module.ts. It is also declared in details.module.ts. So if you go here, if you look for what is called as, let's open up the request.module.ts. Here the request page is already declared. Now that we are including request page here, it is like double declaration. So let's remove it from here. Okay, just save it. And it is compiled successfully. There is no error right now. So let's continue on the step 1. We have just done the step 1 now. So let's move on to do the next steps. So let's go to details.page.ts. Until now we have worked on the module page. Now we are working on the pages.ts. Here we need to call the request here. So how to call the request? Number one we have to do is to make sure we have to import the request page here. So let me just copy this line add them here, right. So this is basically our step number 6.17, which is for modal. Okay. So we have just added the request here. So at this level, if you go and check your Ionic page, there is no such errors appearing here. So let's keep going. Let's keep continuing on these lines. So once you have done that, next step we need to include, we have just added the request page. Let's add the function here, which is called present modal. Okay. So present modal. So we have just added the present modal. Now we have some errors here. You say property model does not exist on this. So there's an error in terms of property model is not there. So let's try to see how to solve that problem. Why it is not there. Basically, this is the file. This is the entry, which is modal control, which is not there. So if I go and look for the error exactly, you will see it says line number 117. And in the file details.page.ts, which is detail.page.ts, line number 117, which is this one here. Okay, this is not declared here. So let's try to declare that file here. So this is normally done inside the constructor. So let's go here to the constructor. Right, make sure there's a comma to the previous ones because we are just passing in them. So now once you have done it, let's go back. It says there are some other errors. Detail page is listed in the declaration of the module detail page, right? And then it's not a directive. And similar, no injection for the parameter model control in the details page. So you have some of these errors which are coming in right now. And it's asking, do you really mean model controller or you mean alert controller? Okay. So let's continue on. So you have the model controller is also to be imported, which is not imported here. So let's go on import in our file. So now I have imported the model controller and the error has gone. There is no errors. If I go to the command prompt, it says command compiled successfully. So we have done in terms of the details.page.ts. Okay, so we have done this part right now. What we did, we have imported model controller and then we have also imported the request page. Then moving on in the controller constructor, we have added the model controller here and follow up. At the end, we have added the method for present model. Okay, this is an asynchronous method as you can see it here. So it's calling the model controller and it is calling the component is the request page and the parameter you are passing, which is using component props. It's a property which is the tour. You are passing the tours to the request page. Okay, this is done. Let's go to request.page.html. So now we are going to receive the answers here. So we want to display them here, correct? So in here, what are we going to do is we are going to add a cancel button. Okay, so let's do it here. Up here we have a button. We want to introduce a cancel button here. So we have added a cancel button. So if I go to our page, it says cancel does not exist, right? It doesn't have the method cancel. Let's see what is the problem out there. So we are calling a function or a method called cancel function, which is not defined in the request.page.ts. So let's go back and try to open page.request.page.ts. And we need to include the cancel method here. Okay, it's a separate method. Just include it. And then once you include, you get some other errors. You say model control does not exist on type request page and request.page.ts. So let's go back. Basically, we have not introduced the model controller here. Right. So let's add the model controller. Let's import it here. So we have just imported it. Let's see whether we have some more errors. So it's still the same error prevails because it's not just importing. We also have to go to the constructor, okay, and in the constructor we need to do a few things here. So here is an empty constructor. What are we doing? We are actually passing the model controller and the parameters. So we are receiving the parameter here. By the way, we are passing the parameter there. We are receiving the parameter here. And right now, it says this dot tour is not defined. So tour property tour does not exist. Again, we get one more error because tour is not defined here. So basically, let's define the tour. Okay. So once it is done, let's see, it says compiled successfully. So we have done until now what we have done. We have gone to the request.page.html, added a cancel button, and then you have a method called cancel method, which is present in request.page.ts and which is called the model controller, which is calling the model controller using the model controller. So we need to import the model controller. We also have to add it in the constructor. Right, as we want to read the data which is being passed, we want to use the nav params, so which is also included from the Angular. So this is Ionic Angular, and then we are just receiving them here. So let's go back to the browser here, to the app here. So if you go in, select something, select regions and then an entry. If you go to request, right, so nothing really happens right now. So let's go back, read one more, go to request, nothing happens. Okay, so it's just doing nothing right now. The request is not working right now, so it is not completed. Let's try to see what are the steps we got to complete. So we have done the page.request.page.html. Let's do the check the request.page.ts, and then we have also used model controller. Okay, so simply it is just cancelling it, right? So when you open a request, it is just cancelling it. Nothing is being done. But let's see what is really happening here. Is it really doing something? Is it calling somebody or not? This one you can check if you go to the console.log. Okay. So for example, let's go and do it here. Let's say we put console.log and say, right, let's say request, right? So we want to see whether this message comes under the console. So you can go to your browser, just make sure you go and open the developer tools. Under developer tools, you have the console ready. So let's go back and then let's click options here. Let's click request, right? You should come here. You should see whether there is something happening here. Okay, so here it says that there is a problem for the nav params. So it's getting something null. That is why it's not able to display anything here. So let's go back. Let's reload. Right, let's load the whole page again. Right, let's load it. Okay, so now if I'm able to go back, select one of them, select the options, select the request. Okay, here it is saying it is a null, so it is not getting anything right now. So let's go back. Yeah, I didn't save the file, so let me save the file again. Okay, so make sure you save the file before you want to see the output. Right, so if I come down here, it's the same error. It is a null parameter error. Okay, go back here. So right now we have done all this, and let's see whether we have done. We have called the parameters. We have also initialized them. This is just the dates, and then we are just sending request. This is just cancelling one. So the cancel has to be invoked. So this is our methods. This is, we are having a slot which is for cancel. At the end, this is cancel. So under request, if I go down here and then I go into request, right, it should bring me a cancel button, which is not coming right now. So it means I need to go and debug this file here, which is the HTML. Let's see if there is an issue with the HTML file itself. Here is HTML. Let me call an okay, that is saved now. Let's go back, go to the request. Yeah, so now if you see, it's again saying that it is not getting any parameters here. Okay. So let's go to the details page. Just make sure everything else is okay here. We have the details page and we need to call the method. Is it being called? Yeah, the alert is being called here. Yeah. The issue is if you go to the request here, when you click on the request, it's right now calling window.location.href, which is not what we want to call. We actually want to handle and pass the handle to this method called present modal. Okay. So present modal is the one which is something we have added here, and that is what is passing the parameters. So let's go back. Let's test it again now. Yeah, so right now you have this cancel. If you click, you see there's a request which I have mentioned here in the console. So simple, just make sure you have all these modifications. It's good to have some errors so that we know how to correct these kind of errors, how to debug them. So you can say request cancelling or cancelling request. Okay. Let's continue on. The next step we are going to do is called popover. Okay. So what is a popover? We just want to show something on top of the page. That is called popover. So let me just close all these files here. So let's open up. This is now we have to go to 18, step number 18, and then here we would need certain files right now. Okay. So we need app.component.ts and we also need app.component.html. Okay, these are two files which we are going to work on, app.module.ts as well. So these are the files coming from the book right now. So let's move on to our case here. So we are here in app. So let's go in and get app.component.ts, app.module.ts. We can get all these files. But before then, we are going to create a component right now. So I'm going to the command prompt. I open another command prompt where I'm at the same folder. So Ionic G component, G means generate, and then components / about. So this is what I'm going to generate. Just press enter. Remember, components are similar to pages. Okay, pages are also components. So I'm just creating a component here. So once it has created, if I go to my folders here, okay, so you will see it will create a component page for me, correct? So there's a component page here, which was not here before, right? It has added a component page. So let's open up the component app.component.ts. Let's also open app.module.ts and then app.component.html. So I open three files. And the app.component.html, correct? So we have, if you go into the component page, let's go to the components page. In about, you can open about.component.html. So you can write here, this is my test pop-up or popover. Okay. So you can say, instead of saying Tema, you can say Bukhari's or your name. You could write, just write your name there. Then let's move into app.module.ts. Let's compare this with the book code right now. Okay. So this is the module.ts. In the app.module.ts, we need to include what is called about component, the latest component which you have just now added. So I'm going to put in here. This is for step 6.18, which is popover. Okay. So once you have done, this is about component. Don't confuse it with the app component. It is the about component. Once you have done it, you also have to add it under entry component. Okay, so here I'm just going to define it here. So there is one more extra comma. Let me remove them. Plus add the about component here as well in the declarations. Once I'm done, I'm going to go back, see if there is an error. There is no error right now, right? So I could still continue on. So in the app.module.ts, I have added the about component. Now let us move into app.component.ts. Okay. So in this, we need to add a method called about method, which is also an asynchronous method. Okay. So let's add it. So this is something which is 6.18, which is also popover, right? So once you have done this, if you see, it should give me some error because popover control has not been defined or does not exist and cannot find the about component. It doesn't know what is this about component and so on. So just go and add, import these two. So we are importing the popover as well as the about components. Okay, these things has been popover controller and about component. Once you have done, the next thing you need to do, if you go to the constructor, right, in the constructor you need to include the popover controller. Okay, so let me just go here to the constructor. Let me just, okay, just included them. Go back, check is there any error. No, there is no more errors. So it is compiled properly. And remember, if you look at this method, you are also passing, like before, you are passing the about component and it is considered translucent as true. And we also have just present the popover. Okay, and await these waits until this is completed, then comes over here. So once you have done this, now the next step is app.component.html and the page. Make sure you save them, app.component.html. This one. In here we need to add what is called about the app. Okay, so let's include this item here. Right. So app.component.html appears in the first side. If I just close up the developer tools, you see there is only settings, allow messages here, right? So let me go back to our code and then I'm going to save our code. Okay, once I have saved, if I go back to the browser, just reload it, right? So you see you have about this app. So when I click, it says about works. This is Bukhari's test popover. Okay, we can change it, we can make it look better and so on. So this is a simple popover which you want to include in your app. It comes above, okay, which is through the about function here, which is declared. Next one, we are going to do what is called as progress indicators. So progress indicator, an app is loading and you want to show it is currently loading. You just want to indicate it is being loaded, right? So if I want to do that, okay, there is a typo mistake here. I think it shows line number what? Line number 54 of op component. Yeah, there's a typo. Sorry. It is not await, it is await. Okay, then this will be done. Right. So let's continue on. I'm going to go into the app page. This is from the book code 19. So let me go into app services. Let me close all these codes here. Right, I don't need to save into the book one, so I'm just going to close it. So I'm going to get bobtoolservice.ts. This is the file which I'm going to work on right now. Okay. For my own code, the latest code we are working on, let's go into app services and then let's get in the bobtools.service. So these are the codes we are going to compare, we are going to work on them. So in here, what you have to do is you need to import what is called loading controller. Okay, so let's import the loading controller. So once you have imported, nothing really happens. There is no error, but nothing happens in our code, nothing happens in the app itself. Then we need to add them to the constructor. So let's go to the constructor here. Okay, I have added loading controller to the constructor. Then I'm going to add this part here, which is basically the loading, okay, inside initialize functions here. And then once you have done this, if you go back here, it says here, this is it an async function? It is asking, is it an asynchronous function? Because when you have await, it should be an asynchronous function, right? So change it to async. It is very simple. Just add async in the front. Because it is async now, if I save it, right, and it compiles, even then there are some other things we want to consider. Maybe the methods inside are all with await, okay. So just add the await for all the calls inside. Okay. Plus we also want to add loading dot dismiss. Okay, just close the loading once it is done. So let's see if you have any other errors. There's no errors. It is compiled properly. Right. So this is done. Let's go back to our app. Right. So when you load it, right now you might not see the loading because it is quite quickly loading here. If suppose it has been loading slowly, you could expect the message to appear. Okay. So this is just a loading message. It will say loading your data and then getting through. But right now if I click, because it is loading quickly, it doesn't need to really show you that message. Let's continue on. So we have done what is called as progress indicator. Now we are going to do radio buttons. Okay. So let's go into the code. Now we are at step number 20. So we are going to do the radio. It is under app.component.ts. This is the file here. Okay. We also need app.component.html. Let's try to get our code now. app.component.html and then app.component.ts. These are the two files we are going to work on. So in the TS file, right now we are going to import storage because we are going to use storage. We want to store something, right? Whatever your choices you have made in your radio button, you are going to store them. So we have added the storage here. And similarly, we want to bring in the storage in the constructor. So let's go to the constructor. Let's add them here. So these two steps have been done. Right now, no errors, but the code doesn't do anything, right? So now I want to add what is called this dot load setting. When I do this, you will get an error here. It says there is nothing. What is this load setting? It says here app.component.ts and 46, 37, it has some errors here. Settings is already declared. Load settings does not exist. So go back here. We want to add this function. Okay. So make sure you are copying this. This is the load setting method. So now the load setting method will be okay. All right. But then you have other errors here. So it says property underscore storage does not exist. Right. You see, underscore storage does not exist. Normally you look for the very first error and keep on correcting them. So storage has not been declared. That is the meaning. So I'm going to declare it here. Right. So here, okay, let me copy. I think I did copy an empty line. Right. So once I paste it here, so that error should have been gone by now, but it says it has no initializers. Okay. So normally if it says it has no initializer and it's not definitely assigned in the constructor, what you do, you try to go here and initialize like this. Once I initialize it, say, okay, you are trying to initialize a string, but this is a storage type. String is not assignable to type storage, so you can't do this. So let's try to do this, for example. Okay, it says, it's a missing property. This kind of brackets is not there in storage. Let's try to assign false, for example. False is a boolean, but this is not boolean, right? So in order to create something, for storage, you can do like this. This is the initialization, new storage. Now this is done. So if I go back to our code right now, okay, just reload the app itself, and then so we have just done it at the TS level. Nothing happened. Why? Nothing happened in the screen because we did not work on the HTML page. We did not do anything in the HTML page. So let's try to do things in the HTML page now. Okay, so I'm going to go into the HTML page under footer. So this is the footer here. Right, you have your settings, and then let's start adding this. It's a radio group, so we are going to group things as a radio button. So I'm going to group them, and this is the radio button group. Okay, let's save it. Go back to our app. You can see it's a radio button now. See, this is a group. Only one of them can be selected at any point of time. So this is the radio button. Once you are able to select it, right, and then if you change, it is going to call this method called update settings, which is, if you see here, let me show you. See, this is your radio group, and if you are able to click and change, on change, it's going to call update settings, which is available under app component TS, which is this one. It's just going to store it. It's going to display in the console. So if you click changes and then you go and look in the console of the Chrome developer tools, you will find this notification will be there. So that's it. We have done the radio buttons. Radio. So let's do the range. Next one is the range. This is step number 21. So let's go to our app code, book code, step number 21. So right now we are going to work on the services. So let's take the Bob Tool service, this is the first one, and then we also will work on the app component.html and app component.ts. These are the files we are going to work on. Plus we would also need some extra pages. Let me open them as well. Regions.page.html, and we will also get the tool types, where you can get the tool types.page.html. Okay, so these are coming from the book. We need to open the same from our own code as well. So make sure it is in your same folder, right? So what you need is under services, you will need the Bob Tools service. So I got the service here, and then we are going to have the app.component.ts files. Then we need app.component.html, and then you are also going to get the regions page, which is regions.page.html, plus we are going to get the two types.page.html. So we have now got all these files. Okay, let's continue working on them. Let's go to the Bob Tools. Okay, this is our Bob Tools file. So what you do in the case of Bob Tools, we are going to add some filter here, okay, which we have not done before. So let's add a filter. So the filter will be under initialize. When you say get tools, we add this filter here. Okay, so all tools, it is a filter based on some kind of, you're going to sort by the titles. Okay, once you have done this, you will get some kind of error here. It says the all tools does not exist, so means it has not been defined. So let's define the all tools here. So let's go here, define the all tools. Now that you have defined the all tools, that error should not be there, right? It is compiled now. So you have just added the all tools. Once you have done, let's go to the app.component.ts. Okay, app.component.ts. In here, you are going to have certain functions for filtering. Okay, so I'm going to filter. This is the pop-up. So this is our filter. Remember, we are doing step number 6.21, which is the range. Okay, so once I do this, I'm expected to have some errors here. Price does not exist, filter tools, hate, all these things are not there. So it's giving me some of these errors because they have not been defined. Okay, so let's try to define some of them. So these are things you want to define. Okay, so I have defined them. I'm not aligning them, but you could align them as well. Filter tools does not exist. Okay, so it is saying that the filter tools is not there. So let's try to check whether this has been defined here or not. Okay, so if you go down to Bob Tours, we have defined, that is what is called filter tools here. So did I define it before? No. Okay, so let's define them. So I have defined. Now it is giving me some other error in the Bob Tours. Bob Tours parameter price is implicitly of any type. So when you get this, you just go here and type :any. You also the same error here. You can change that. Just save. These two errors are gone. It is compiled successfully. Right now it is done. So we have done in terms of app.component.ts, Bob Tours, but we have not done the HTML file. Okay, so let's go into HTML file. Here what we are going to do, we are going to add this part here. Right, let's go here. This is basically to bring a range. Before saving it, you can just see what happens. This is what we see here, right? Settings, radio, and the checkbox. So let's go back to the code and then save it. If you go back, you will see there is an option to do this. Okay, so what we are trying to do is nothing but a range here. Okay, so it's a range. So for example, right now I show all the regions here, right? And then if I'm going to just go here, regions, right? Let's refresh again, regions. You see there are 11, but if I change this and then I reload, okay, go to the regions now. Okay, sorry, if I go here 220 for example, click on this. Okay, I'm here. I'm going to push it here, go back, come back. You see there is changes here. It was initially 11, now become 5. So let's try some more. Okay, I'm going to push it here. So we want to choose only those in the range of 320 to 400 euros. It does not change immediately. Okay, that is a problem right now. You see it becomes 1 here. So there are changes based on this, right? We need to update in such a way it changes immediately. Right now it does not. You have to shift between two types and regions or wherever to get these changes. Okay, and then sometimes you see these zeros. Do you really want to show something 0? You don't want to see anything zeros, right? And if I click, something is coming. Should not be like this. So what I do, I'm going to change things in my code just to make sure if it is 0, it does not appear. Okay, so let's go here to regions.page.html, and then I'm just going to add a single line here, which is this one. So it says display them, but if the region becomes 0, don't display them. Right? Let's see if there are any errors. There's nothing. Go back to the tool types, same line we want to add here. Right? Save. You will get an error because region does not exist. Basically, it is not the region here. It is supposed to be two types here. Okay, so if you want, you could just compare with the codes. Should be the two type. Now you can save them. Right, just make sure you have saved them. Just go back. Now look at this. You have this. There are 9, 11, and 4. Let me choose from here. Go back here. Come back. Right, this is all gone. It's not appearing. I can't click. Right, so we can just hide them. That is the idea of just saying if it is equal to 0, please don't display them. It is disabled. Right, so these are the points which is under the concept of range. Next one, we are going to work on what is called as reorder. Okay, so what do you mean by reorder? What is the use of reorder? Basically, if let's say I have selected some favorites and then I want to reorder them, right? I just want to order them in a way I like, for example. Okay, so let's go in. This is step number 22. So let's go to 22. Go to SRC, app, services, open up the favorites one. So just get the favorite.service.ts. Also go to app, pages, go to favorites, and get in favorites.page.ts. Okay, so this is favorite.page.html. Sorry, you got these two files now. So let's open the same in from our own code. Just make sure you are in the right folder. So you go in under favorites, you need favorite.page.html. Also you would need under services favorite.service.ts. Okay, you got them here. So this is the favorite one. In here we are going to add a method called reorder method. Okay, just add this method. So please note that we are now working on step 6.22, which is basically called reorder. Okay. So once I do this, I might get some error because event has no type, has any type. If it says this error, we just go here, put colon any, and then save. This will be done. No changes in the output, but just we have done the TS file. Go back to the favorites.html file. So in the case of HTML file, we are going to add ion regroup. Okay, so right now we only have these items here, and there is no footer. So let's add a footer as well here, and let's try to go here. Okay, so I'm going to go as a regroup. This is the regroup here under list. So just replace this with the regroup. So go back to your browser. There might be some errors. It says ion regroup. It may happen that there has already been a close tag. There is some problem with the closing tags. So let's go and check. So here, yeah, I missed one line, which is supposed to be this one here. Reorder should be open. The opening tag is missing. It is done now. So now you see object is possibly undefined. Okay, this is in the favorites page. So when I go down here, it says here, this is the line number 46. You can see line number 44, right? 44 here. This one, it's not working. The whole idea is, right, only if you have more than one favorite element, then only you can do the swapping. You can reorder. Otherwise, you cannot reorder. So here what I can do, I can say if it is not equal to 0 and if it is not equal to 1. Okay, let's try this. So it is not equal to 0 or 1, that means it should be more than 1, correct? So if I go here right now, right, you can see it says you can reorder. Okay, let's see here. This is our code. So you're getting the length here. So let's try to add. Let's go here. Let's go and add something to the favorites. So the idea is you can just drag drop up. You can do this. Okay. So that is the idea here. Okay. So if you go in, you just go here, remove it from the favorites, right? And then go back, click this, remove it from the favorites. Okay, let's go back. You should not have that message here, okay, because we have said that if it is equal to 0. Okay, so let's go down here. You can also try it out with or and then check what happens. Right now nothing happens. Let's try to add something to favorites. Okay, nothing can be moved, right? This is why they use greater than 1. We could change that also. Okay, let's move on. This is about reorder, right? Just to get away from that error of it's not defined. And okay, so this is done. Next one, we are going to do a search bar. Let's say we want to do some search in our data, right? So let's go and open these, close them right now. So we are going to work on code number 23. Okay, so this is 23. So you are under source, app, pages. Let's go to list, and we are going to load list.page.html. So we are going to have the list, but in the list page, we are just going to have a search opportunity. Okay, search for some elements there. So let's go back here, app, pages, list, and let's get the list here. Let's get the list here. So these are list pages. So what is a list basically? If I go in here, click this, this is the list here. Okay, you can see the top list. Okay, this is a list page. But in here, I want to add some kind of search options here. So how to add a search? Let's go to the HTML page first. So we are on the HTML page. Right, we are going to add this search bar, Ion search bar. Under the content, remember there is a header, there is content, there could be footer. Here there is no footer. So we added them here. So if I go back here, it says search does not exist. Okay, because you are calling a method called search, right? If I go back, it's calling a method search, which is not defined in the TS file. So by default, you have to go and define it. So let's go here, copy this search one, okay, right, and then save it. Let's see, do you get some error? Yeah, similar error. Implicitly has any type, 48 and 56 line numbers, right? 48 is this, so you need to add any, and then it is here, just put any, save. So that is done. Now if you go back to the browser, you see I can click this, I can do some search. Okay, so it will list, and then I keep changing, let's say Conrad, right? So it doesn't matter whether it is uppercase, lowercase based search, because that is why we are converting the actual elements into lowercase. We are getting the titles also into lowercase and comparing them. Okay, so greater than or equal to, greater than 1 minus 1 means they are same, then it will return. Okay, so here is just a searching entity we have added in the list page, and you can do it in any pages you want, any page you want. Next one, we are going to do what is called as a segment. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is a segment. And this is book chapter 6. This is 24, just section number 24 or step number 24. Here, before you do this, before you work on the segment, we are going to add yet another page. Okay, the page is called map page. Right now we don't have any maps, but later on they plan to add some maps inside this app. So this is why they are doing like this: Ionic G page pages/map. Remember, I'm doing in my command prompt. Please note that the other command prompt where I run my Ionic serve, it's still running. I'm not closing that. That is still running. So I'm just creating this. I'm creating a page called maps. So if I go to my listing here, I should expect a map page should come here. So once it is ready, right, let me, meanwhile it is doing it. So I'm on the 24. I'm going to src app. I'm going to get the routing pages. So let me get app routing. Okay, and also I would need pages details details.page details.module.ts. Okay, I got this page as well. Then I also need details.page.ts. Okay, I also need, if I go here, I should find the map, because this is from the book, right? I need the map.page.ts. I also need map.page.html, all of them. So right now our map page is created. So let's go back to our own code. This is the one. So here you can see the map is created. So I need the map.page.html, map.page.ts, and I also need the routing, app-routing.module.ts, and then I also need in the details page, okay, details.page.ts. So let me just load them. Right, I've done them. Plus I also need the details.module.ts. So all the pages are ready now. Let's try to compare and try to work on them. Step number 1 is app routing. What is this page here? This actually directs you from one page to another. Okay, so you can see here now there's a new entry called map which is added, which was not there before. Before you issued the command, it was not there. Once you issued the Ionic G page pages/map, this is added into this file. You don't need to do any changes here, but just for you to know, it is added here. Okay. Now let us move on to details.module.ts. Okay, details.module.ts. In here, we want to import our map pages. This is the latest page which we have added now. So once you have done this, and then we want to add the map page to the declarations. Okay, let's just add it to the declarations here, and also add them to your entry components. Save them. See if you have any errors. It says map page is declared by more than one ng module. Okay, it is done in two places. One in details.module, other one is map.module.ts. So I could safely remove it from here. Okay, if I remove it, it should be fine for me, right? Then moving on, I'm going to work on the details.page.ts. Right, here also make sure you import the map page here. So details.page.ts, I've imported the map. Once I've imported, right, then you can also look at, there is a method here called present map, which is something we need to add. Remember, it is also an asynchronous method. So go in here, I'm just adding it here, save. I could expect some errors to be there, maybe nothing, fine. But there's something interesting here. Okay, if you look on it carefully, I have added a method called present map, but did I call it anyway? Right, I did not call the map anywhere. Okay, so I need to make sure I'm calling it, otherwise it's of no use, right? So here is the calling, this is the model, here is the map calling, right? Add these lines here. Okay, so this one, if you are calling on a map, is going to call it, and there's a cancel. Cancel doesn't matter even if it is before or after, it will come as the last entry anyway. So we have done this. Let's check whether there is any error. No errors for now. So this is done. You have done a map, and then you are passing the map page, you are passing the tour as the parameter. The next one, you go into the map.page.html. Let's go to map.page.html, and here let's add a footer. Okay, so we added the footer, and map.page.ts, which is this one. In this file here, you are going to write this method here. Remember, you would have got some errors here because the current view change is not defined, which I've actually called it here current view change, but that's not defined, so I need to define it here. Okay, just saving it. It says property current view does not exist, event implicit is of any type, so when it is of this error, we just put and any colon any, that is gone. And then it says that current view does not exist, and the current view does not exist, so it just gives you this error that it does not exist. So let's make sure, let's see, this one we have defined, we are here. So okay, let's go in, and you need to define this guy. Because we are using this dot current view should be defined. So right now errors are gone, so this is done. So if you go here to our page, right, so you click on anything, regions, so click click one of them, and then basically this is the details page, right? Click on the options, you should have the map, you can go to the map, so you can see these are the things. We have not yet embedded the map here. Okay, we have not embedded any map right now, but just that we have kind of selection option segment, which is a segment here where you have the map. That's it. Let's move on. You're going to do the select option. Next is a select. This is step number 25 in this chapter. So let's go on. Okay, so here let's move on. 25. Go to SRC, you go to app, you go to pages, you go to request. You need two files here. request.page and the TS file and the HTML file. These are two files you need, which is opened up right now. Go to our own code, go to pages, go to request, load both of them, request.page.html, request.page.ts. So we have loaded them here. In the HTML page, right, we are now going to add an option here. So this is the HTML, this is just here, this one. Okay. So we added the two options here. We have added, but nothing happened right now because we just added. There's no error right now. So if you go into the TS file, remember TS file also has a request already. So we are just going to indicate our default language is English. Okay. So this is what we are going to do it here. Now let's assume we don't put a default language first. Okay. Save this file. Make sure HTML is saved. Let's go here, select any one of them, select, and then if you put request, okay, and then scroll down, okay, nothing is happening here, right? Just cancel it here. So let's go back to the page. So here you have, the durations here. So let's go here. Right, so we have also to add the language, which I did not add, which is this one here. Okay, so just go back here, reload, just go to any region, any one of them. Let's say, let's choose this, options, request. So you will find these ones here. You can choose languages, but there is no default language right now. So if I go back to my code and then I just do this, language is English, come back here. Okay, so just reload one more time, go to regions, this one, just choose the same one as before, go here, request. You will see now there's a default language already mentioned. Okay, and then you can change them. That is the idea here, right? So this is basically a select option for us. The next one we are going to do is what is called as a slideshow. Okay, let's do a slideshow now. This is step number 26. So to do a slideshow, initially you need to create a page for slideshow. So that is Ionic G, page, pages, slideshow. Okay. Remember, I'm writing here capital S, but if you go inside the folder, you will find it to be small s here. So it will create now, right? While it is creating, let's try to open up the necessary files from the book, right? So you need under add.component.cs, ts, and under pages you have the slideshow. Get in the HTML file slideshow.page.html, slideshow.page.ts. Okay, these are the files we need. So it is done. So right now, if you go in there, you will find a slideshow ready. All right, so let's open up the Notepad++, go to our pages, our folder. This is our folder, right? Just get the app.component.ts and then continue, go into pages, open slideshow, slideshow.page.html. You also need slideshow.page.ts. You got them now. Okay, let's open up here and let's go to the HTML first. In the HTML, we are going to create some slides. Okay, so these are what is called slides. Ion slides or the slides. So I've added a slides right now. But then if I go to my command, it says that something is not there, is favorite, and things are not there. Similar to the previous errors we have faced before. Basically, the function is not defined in my TS. So I've just done it here. Again, I might get some more errors right now, right? You see BT service is not there, the tools is not there, manage favorites does not exist. So I also need one more method, which is the manage favorites. Okay, so I've done this. Now it says BT service is not there, so meaning I need to import the Bob2 service here, which has not been done before. It is not just only importing, I also have to include it in the constructor. So let's pass it through the constructor. Done. Let's see if you have any other errors. It says manage favorite does not exist. I think it's already here now. And then you also have to have, what are the other errors? Let's try to correct the errors. Tour implicitly has any type, so which is line number 16. Let's go to 16. Okay, so I can just do this. This will be gone now, right? So let's see the last error. Always look at the last error. And it says here line number 24, right? 24 again. Here I can type colon any. That error will be gone. There's one more error. It says this HTML 826. It has slide config, which has not been defined. Okay. So normally, if you want to define something, you define it in the TS page. Okay. So here I'm defining it. Done. Let's see. It's gone. The error is gone now. Okay. So I have done this, and we want to check the app component one as well. App component. So here we have the regions tour, but we don't have the slideshow. Basically, what is the app component? We want to have the slideshow here, which is not here right now. Even if I load, I will not see it here. Okay. So let's go back here. Let's try to add them. Right. Now it is done. So you can see there's a slideshow. I can click, and this is a slideshow, right? So you can see it's a slideshow that is coming up there. So we have done the slideshow right now. And the next step, right, is to do toast. Let's do a toast. Okay, so one more thing you could also do in the slideshow as well. You can check whether the Bob2 service is properly set up or not. So go to services. Okay, just make sure you open this. This is the Bob2 service. In the Bob2 service, you have the favorite service. Okay, just make sure it is also done in our case. Go to pages, go to app, go to services, and then you want to load the Bob2. Okay, so here the favorite service is there, so no problem. If it is not, you need to add it. You also need to pass it into the constructor. Okay, let's move on. Let's do step number 27, which is about toast. So let's close all this. Let's close all of them here. I'm just going to close all of them. This is the book code, chapter 6, step number 27. So in here, we are going into app, request, pages, request, and we just need the request.page.ts. Similar, let's go to our own code, app, pages, request, and then request.page.ts. Okay. As you know, toast is like kind of a feedback, and then after a few minutes or few seconds, it will just disappear. Okay, that is a toast. So to do a toast, you need to include it, import it in the request page. We are going to do it in the request page. If you want to do it somewhere else, you can do it also. All right, and then you have to include it in your constructor. So two things done. And then to do your toast, you want to have a confirm method. Okay, so just go add a confirm method here. Right, let's see if there are any errors for us. Right now, nothing. So let's go to our browser, go to region, just reload regions. Okay, let's go one of them, click, right, just go here, go to request. Right, so here I am expected, I've actually included the toast. right? And let's make sure we have added the method correctly or not. So let's go in here. Yeah, it's not completed, I think. So you have a confirm, but we never call this method called confirm, right? We never call this. So let's try to go in here. We need to add this dot confirm. That's why it was not creating anything. And then this will be clicked. Okay, so let's go back in here, click again, agents, click, click, do a click, request, and then, you know, okay, so now right now I'm having the request, but I would have expected in the request there should be an elements to send the request, which is not appearing here right now, right? So probably there's a small mistake in the code. Let's check it up. Okay, let's go here. Let's go and check the request.html file as well. This is coming from the book code, correct? So let's open our own code as well. Yeah, so here we need to have a footer to say send the request or whatever, right? So this is why the send method will be called. Once it is called, it is going to call this method send, which is going to call the confirm method, right? Now let's go back here, reload again, go to regions, go over this, go this, click something, request, and if I say send request, you will see a toast here. Okay, thank you, we will answer you shortly, like this. Just a toast, nothing is being sent, but it's just a toast right now. Let's cancel this. Now I'm going to do the next one, which is step number 28, which is about toggling. Okay, so let's go on to close this codes here. Step number 28, src, and then app, pages, request. We are going to work on the same files. So in our own code, I'm not going to open anything new, but for the book, I'm going to open from the latest folder, which is 28, step 28. Okay. So here, this is the request page. So here we want to have some kind of toggling. So let's see. Okay, so here is a toggle, right? So just before your contact information and the language, after the language, just add the toggling. So let's see, it gives you some error because there is something called isBusTrip which has not been defined. Normally we define them in the TS file, correct? So let's go to the TS file. This is the bus trip. Let's go define it here. Right, we have defined it right now, and we have to make sure it is deducted. Right, and then we want to have, that's all. Let's see, is there any other error? We can correct them. Yeah, it has nothing initialized, so it's no initialization. Usually if you find such an error, you can just initialize to false, for example. Okay, save, and there's no error here. So let's go back here, go in here, region. So this time you have to choose a bus trip. Okay, click on this request. Okay, and if you go in here, here you will see we need a bus or you don't need a bus. This is the toggling option. But instead of choosing a bus trip, if I choose something else, okay, let's go to regions, let's go to Bonsai, let's go something else, right? If it does not have bus, it is not a bus trip, you will not get that word bus trip here. Okay, so this is why it is checking a condition, is bus trip or not. Okay, so you can see here it says if is bus trip. If this is true, then only this is displayed, otherwise it is not displayed. The next step, which is step number 29. So let me close my codes here, close the codes from the book as well. Go back here, go 6, chapter 6, 29th step, which is basically our last step. So go to app, pages, map. We need map.page.html and also we need map.page.ts. Okay. So basically toolbars, you can place them at different locations. Okay. And it depends on if it is in the header, it is fixed as it is at the top. If it is in the footer, it is at the bottom. Right? If it is in the content, it strolls with the content. It scrolls with the content. Okay. So here is my map pages. Remember, map page is basically a map component. It is not a page. It's a component right now. So let's add a button called close here. Okay, to the map, we will add a close button, and then you will go to the map.page.ts because we need to define. If you call any method like you have closed, you need to define it, right? So here we define the method called close. So let's define it here. And then to use it, you need a model controller because I've used the model controller here. So just go and have an import of model controller. Make sure it is also included in your constructor and save it. Successful. Go back to your code. Run this here. So just scroll down. You don't have any maps right now. So if you click on something and go to the map, right, you'll find this. Actually, we have added the close, right? So you can just close it right now. Okay, this is what you can do. So let me just go to the code, final touches here. You can see this button is in the header, right? It depends on where you place it. Accordingly, things could be changed. That's all for now. We have done a lot of user interfaces today, right? So the whole idea is there are lots of user interfaces, user interface components in Ionic, and they have discussed a good number of them in an alphabetical order. Whatever you need, you can pick it, you can add it to your app because you have the sample codes. We have also seen how to solve most of these errors. You might get some other errors as well, but you can explore them and learn them through. Thank you so much.